President Joe Biden drops out of presidential election race and endorses Kamala Harris.
African Union moves to establish Central Bank of Africa to address infrastructural development on the continent.
It will enable us to scale up our investments in key areas such as education, infrastructure, healthcare, and technology.
Federal government resolves to create job opportunities and diversify the economy to stimulate growth across the country.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss ending oil theft in the Niger Delta, plus achieving equal opportunity for persons with disabilities.
Oil theft is a scourge that has plagued Nigeria's economy, an environment for decades. Despite being the country's mainstay, the oil industry has been crippled by rampant theft, with estimates suggesting billions of dollars lost annually.
And the consequences of oil theft are far-reaching, from environmental degradation to economic instability. When did oil theft begin in Nigeria? Let's have a history. You have that.
Well, that's a good question. When did it begin?
Yeah.
The 1960s was when oil production began in Nigeria. And within that period, the country witnessed the first instances of oil theft. Of course, at that time, oil theft involved small-scale tapping of oil pipelines by local communities.
Yes, indeed. And in the 1980s, oil theft increased with more sophisticated methods employed by criminal networks. These include hacking into pipelines and siphoning oil into barges or tankers.
Then, in the 1990s, the rise of militant groups in the Niger Delta, such as the Movement for the Survival of Ogoni People, MASOP, which led to the increase in oil theft. Now, militants tap oil pipelines to fund their activities and protest against environmental degradation and economic marginalization.
And now the 2000s also witnessed oil theft becoming more organized, with criminal syndicates involving corrupt government officials, security personnel, and businessmen. Stolen oil is then sold on the black market for export or exported to these countries from Nigeria. Yes.
And it seems to, be progressive, because in the 2010s, oil theft reached alarming levels, with estimates suggesting up to 400,000 barrels per day, are stolen. The Nigerian government launched various initiatives to combat oil theft, including military operations and surveillance systems.
And in 2014, the Nigerian government established the Presidential Committee on Oil Theft to tackle the issue. When President Buhari assumed office in 2015, the administration launched a crackdown on oil theft, including arrest and prosecutions. That was a step forward towards that, yes.
And then in the 2020s, oil theft continued, with new methods employed, such as using drilling rigs to tap into pipelines. The Nigerian government and international partners intensified efforts to combat oil theft, including improved surveillance and community engagement.
Now there is a new determination to tackle this menace. There is a new sheriff in town, head-on, as President Tinubu has issued a marching order to the military to curb oil theft, and a comprehensive strategy is being implemented.
Now, can we say this strategy will bring this menace to an end? Well, join us as we focus on the complexities of oil theft in the Niger Delta, the efforts to combat it, and the prospects for success. We'll hear from experts, stakeholders, and possibly community leaders to get a comprehensive understanding of this critical issue. As earlier asked, Can Nigeria finally put an end to oil theft and unlock its full economic potential? On that note, let me welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria today. I am Victor Azu, and we are reaching you on the network service of the NTA.
And Victor, you're back. You're welcome back from your break.
Well, thank you.
It's good to have you back. I know that's not all. We have another topic in the second part of the program, achieving equal opportunity for people with disabilities. I am Jumai Yusuf. I joined Victor to welcome you to the first edition of the program of Good Morning Nigeria for this week. You also have newspaper review with Chukwudi Okolo-Ubaja, who will be joining us later. But first, let's take the highlights of the news by Mina Daniels. Good morning, Mina.
Good morning, Jumai and Victor. Good morning, Nigeria. Here is the morning news. U.S. President Joe Biden has announced that he will end his candidacy for re-election, saying it is in the best interest of the party and the country. This comes 4 months before Americans go to the polls to decide the fate of who takes over the White House. It has been weeks of intense pressure from Democrats after a faltering debate performance against Republican Donald Trump at the end of June. Following the announcement on Sunday evening, President Biden gave his endorsement in the presidential race to Vice President Kamala Harris. In his endorsement, he said his first decision as the party nominee in 2020 was to select Ms. Harris, and said it's been the best decision he has made. Nigerian President Bola Tinubu, alongside other African leaders, are in Accra, Ghana, for the 6th midterm African Union meeting. Educate an Africa fit for the 21st century is the theme of the meeting.
The draft budget for 2025, which has been submitted and has been minutiously prepared by the Commission with all its skills and those who have contributed to it. The level of statutory contribution to the budget, which has been capped to $200 million American dollars instead of the $250 million which was approved in 2023, taken into account the pressures that are exerted on most of our member states.
Members of the African Union are calling for the establishment of a Central Bank of Africa, African Monetary Fund, and African Investment Bank to address financial challenges associated with infrastructural development of the continent. The proposals were tabled at the ongoing midterm African Union meeting in Accra. Issues of conflict in Sudan, DR Congo, and the Horn of Africa were also on the front burner.
Enable us to scale up our investments in key areas such as education, infrastructure, healthcare, and technology, driving comprehensive and sustainable development across the continent.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has restated federal government's resolve to create job opportunities and diversify Nigeria's economy as part of efforts to ensure food security and stimulate economic growth across the country. This is at the launch of a ₦1 billion agricultural empowerment program in Damaturu, the Yobe State capital.
Every intervention to boost agriculture plays a crucial role in the local economy. The aim of an initiative like this transcends security. It opens new avenues for employment, particularly for our youth and women, who are the backbone of our rural communities.
Drug consignments hidden in ladies' wears and other prohibited substances were seized in Lagos at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja, by the operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. A businessman was on Thursday, 18th of July 2024, arrested at his Lagos residence after a consignment of 40 parcels of loud hidden in packs of chess boards, Scrabbles, checkers, and poker set brought in from Canada was intercepted at the Circle import shed of the Lagos airport during a joint examination of the cargo with men of customs service. In the same vein, NDLEA operatives at the narco export shed of the airport on Friday, 19th of July, intercepted 2 jumbo bags going to Pakistan. The bags contained food items which were used to conceal 4 parcels of cocaine and 14 parcels of loud. Further investigations led to the arrest of a businesswoman. Also at the Lagos airport, NDLEA operatives on Thursday, 18th of July, intercepted a male Beninese passenger traveling with a bag containing some female native dresses. The suspect was going to Dubai via Accra, Ghana. Thorough search of the bag revealed 8 parcels of loud concealed in the lady's native wares. And those are the highlights of the news at this time. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Victor and Jumai, but after this break, please don't go away.
The federal government of Nigeria warns vandals of national assets, electricity transmission towers, cables, and other facilities to desist from this act of sabotage. Vandalism is a serious crime, punishable under the law. Vandalizing electrical equipment will affect millions of Nigerians, including your loved ones. Remember that national assets belong to all of us, hence the need to protect them. Report all cases of suspicious movement around electrical facilities to security agencies. When you see something, say something. This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation in collaboration with the National Counter-Terrorism Center, NCTC, Office of the National Security Advisor.
The new Milo 3-in-1 Milky and Creamy is truly milky and contains calcium. No need to add milk for that rich, creamy cup, which helps to nourish and energize your kids.
In a world hungry for goodness, with a splash of golden Terra oil, a mom can transform a frown into a smile. Make a lunch hour a happy hour. Change no thanks into yes please. Provide care when our nearest and dearest needs it most. And resolve family feuds without blowing a whistle. Providing tasty, nourishing family meals is all that matters. The world needs moms, because where there are moms, there is hope, happiness, and love. Golden Terra Oil, or pure love.
The Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Special Needs and Equal Opportunities invites the following stakeholders for an Interministerial and Sub-National Disability Discrimination Act Awareness Summit 2024
and the official launch of Beyond Disability Project.
Guests: 36 states governors, the Senate President, the Speaker House of Representatives, all members of the National Assembly, former presidents, the SGF, FCT Minister, all ministers, all DGs and executive secretaries of departments and agencies, governor of the CBN, GMDs and CEOs of all commercial banks, all captains of industries, all embassies and foreign commissions in Nigeria, religious leaders, royal fathers, civil society organizations, friends of the government, all media houses in Nigeria, national leadership of the disabled community, and all NGOs and humanitarian organizations.
Date: 22nd July 2024. Time: 11 a.m. Venue: the Presidential Banquet Hall, Abuja.
Chairman of the event, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Chief host, Comrade Mohammed Abba Isa, SSA to the President on Special Needs and Equal Opportunities.
This message is brought to you from the Office of SSA to the President on Special Need and Equal Opportunities and Beyond the Disability Humanitarian Aid Foundation.
The Council of Our Fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
savannah to the Sahara. We rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree. We sway colors, we stand down in the dark. We make solutions, we make passion, yeah. There's a message in me. We are more than just a nation. We are Nigeria. We are Nigeria. Sharing unity. We know the carry lives. We are Nigeria. We are Nigeria. Together live the dream of a land with great destiny. We are Nigeria.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
And up next is newspaper review.
Chukwudi Okolo Ubaja is seated in the studio. Good morning.
Well, we wanted to give you a little theme music so that melody gets into your introduction.
Yeah, so that I can get high on it all.
We're very creative.
Yes.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, well.
Victor?
Good morning.
It's time for sunrise. Where went you?
Well, just took some time out.
Forget this time. Let's go.
All right, let's begin with the leadership newspapers, which has a few stories on the headlines. And above the nameplate, Oronsai report, new appointments raise doubts about measure of MDAs. That story is on page 4. And just beside it, still on page 4, Biden steps down and endorses Kamala Harris. And below the nameplate, Dangote refutes claims of substandard petroleum products. You can find that on page 13. Dangote refutes claims of substandard petroleum products. Page 25, Zenith retains Nigeria's #1 bank rating. That's on page 25, and that's all there is on the front page of the leadership. So we move over to the blueprint, which leads with the major headline, high sulfur content claim, subject our products to credibility test. Dangote dares NMDPRA, says regulator undermining the market. Farouk Ahmed lacks sufficient knowledge of our refinery. And refinery stands as a beacon of hope for our country. That's according to Abbas. All right, and the picture story here tells the story of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu with other African leaders at the 45th ordinary session at the Executive Council and 6th Media Coordination Meeting of the AU in Accra, Ghana on Sunday. Just a few more stories to take here. Some have been read on the other paper. ECOWAS supports IDPs, refugees, asylum seekers with US $9 million. Backs member states facing terrorism with US $4 million. And I think that's all there is here. Some of them have been taken on the other paper.
Yeah, you've read some here. They are also here. Let's quickly go to the Daily Sun newspaper, and at the side piece of the Daily Sun newspaper, LG Autonomy, Ganduje's aides hail Tinubu judiciary for display of courage. Find details on page 6. Orji Kalu pushes for part-time legislature, regional government. Details on page 26. Tackle insecurity to address food inflation. Traders urge FG. Rather, COA seeks wide-ranging collaboration to protect nation's territory. Biden's endorsement of Harris elicits celebration. And 2023 election violence hold governors' deputies' orders to account. Court orders INEC. And prosperity to poverty, paradox of ill wealth, widespread pauperism in Nigeria. Expert list challenges, profile solutions. You find details on page 14 and 15. And I think that's about what we have in the Sun newspaper this morning. Mr. Chukwudi? Okay, I have the headlines. Rebellion brews in Senate over pro-Tinubu stance. With Rider, Northern Senate caucus divided. And no, Tinubu not interfering. That's coming from the Senate spokesman. Mr. Chukwudi.
There's one bit doing the rounds all over the world, but let me take the last bit you read there. Naturally, it's going to be an investigation. The attribution is not going to be there, you know. So let us say that with the kind of storm President Ahmed Bola Tinubu is riding in terms of efforts to tame a rather haywire, an economy that has gone haywire, almost amok, there is no way there won't be dissenting voices here and there as to methods. So at the end of the day, you're going to say, okay, let them sort it out. Thank God that the ruling party also dominates the National Assembly in terms of representation.
Yes.
They would always work it out. What's paramount is that whatever division the paper may have, you know, investigated and perceived, let it not be one that would affect the core, the thrust of the APC's manifesto, what they say they are going to do for Nigerians, and let it not be one that is too profound that it begins to distract from the daily act of governing. That's the point there. So there's nothing wrong at all if there are voices here that are saying no, some are saying no, we're pro the president, he's right on all that. That is the way it is. The storm being ridden is quite huge. That's the point of it. Going now to the news that has been on there since about 2 p.m. Nigerian time. Kamala Harris has now been endorsed
by Biden.
Not necessarily the Democrats. There's going to be an open convention after. But to the kind of the stalwarts, the party bigwigs, you know, that are throwing their support behind her, she might eventually clinch it. And well deserved, you want to say. We're talking about a woman who has practically been the first black woman that occupied most of the positions she's had. She's VP now. California Senator from 2017 to 2021, Attorney General of California 2011 to 2017, District Attorney of San Francisco 2004 to 2011. It is a dizzying CV.
Yes.
Now, some people are saying Obama, a black man, just some 8 years ago, 9 years ago, was there. A person of color is coming in again. Remember, she has
Indian accent.
She's the father,
Indian,
a Jamaican economist,
her mother an Indian,
South Asian mother, and all that. She has a sister Maya as well. So some people are saying that some whites might not want a person of color to occupy the White House in so short.
But do you think America is ready for a female president?
You would always go to the feminist aspect of it.
Yes. Are they ready?
I think America was ready for Clinton. Hillary Clinton.
Then Trump happened.
I like that.
Yes.
Before Trump happened on the scene.
Yes.
You know, he still remains a very big enigma. I'm not so sure I'm one of his fans. So when I talk Trump, I have to remember fairness, accuracy, objectivity, and balance, the creed of journalism.
Yeah, the shooting shot him up ahead in the polls. The shooting that took place. Shot him up ahead of the polls. Ahead in the polls.
It's almost
not necessary.
But I still believe.
No. the gap is not much. It's still 576. You know, it didn't radically depart from what it was. It is what Trump makes of the bullet that missed him by
inches.
You know, just a few inches, seconds. That said, this man hardly ever turns when he renders speeches.
Yes.
It was a big surprise, shock, that just when he did that, a bullet went past. Sometimes you can't give a human, interpretation to some of these things.
I wish, and I pray that Kamala Harris gets the Democratic ticket and gets the first female.
Let us remember that Biden has been a great man.
Yes, he has been.
A very underrated person. Some people are like that. They achieve so much. The American economy is easily the best now in terms of growth and all that.
Yeah, you know, the time for him to have made a real impact in America was after Barack Obama's tenure, but unfortunately he lost his son, and he decided to take some time off
exactly
politics, and he was dragged back into politics again. But you know, age and illness,
the loss of that son, how he weathered the storm was something else. I remember the book Promise Me Dad.
Remember, he lost his wife and his child earlier. He had an accident. It affected his brain. He had to go through a lot of surgeries. But I believe, let's see how the convention goes. We've seen how the Republican convention
is that the emergence, the almost certain emergence of Kamala Harris changes the equation. There have been this campaign against Biden's age, and they're not too sure of his health and mental health and all of that campaign, and now suddenly Kamala Harris bursts on the scene. And then those campaigns move to the other side. You begin to question the same thing that Biden was questioned with. Unfortunately, the Republican Party has confirmed Donald Trump, and so there's no going back. And so whatever measure that was put up against Biden can't go the other way, and that changes a whole lot of things. Women will queue behind Kamala Harris, the blacks will queue behind Kamala Harris.
Particularly anti-Semitism, you know, among the Americans right now. You know, I think they say she might pick the governor. I think governor of Pittsburgh or something. Can change.
There are about 2 of them that are potentially likely, governor.
Yes, exactly.
She's pro-abortion. She's one of those who feel so that Roe v. Wade was shut down by a largely Republican-dominated and conservative judges dominated. Please, not Republican. Let's not go give fake news. But at the end of the day, we are looking forward to battle royal. That's what it's going to be.
The Royal Rumble.
Yeah, the Royal Rumble. Dangote says subject our products to credibility test. I want to think before exportation started and all that, isn't it that the regulator must have tested the products? Why didn't we hear the hue and cry over quality of Dangote products maybe some 1.5 months ago when AGO and the rest of them started rolling out? It's just PMS that has yet to come out. The entire thing is quite intriguing. But the point I keep making is this: China and India would protect their own in a situation like this. What is Africa's Nigeria doing about protecting our own? Even if there are flaws in the quality of Dangote products, it's something we need to even talk about internally, get it rectified, and then prop up the local effort into the international limelight.
Well, like we said,
it can be handled better.
The oil cabals are worse than the drug cabals out there.
But that's true.
Yes, and on that note, we'll have to let you go this morning. Thank you so much, Kukuji.
Thank you too. Thanks a lot.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Victor.
Okay, we'll take a break now. When we return, our conversation will begin. Don't go away.
Nigeria, we must protect our country. We must say protest not in my state. We must adopt a peaceful and dialogue-driven approach in our pursuit of change. Clearly, we must articulate our demands and be willing to listen to others. Engage in open and constructive conversations with the government. Many of of us are weary of the agenda of the promoters of the planned protest. To protest is a process that ends in dialogue. But the peaceful protest is not guaranteed. Let us start with dialogue, not protest. We must find a rally point, create a podium, and take turns to air our views without exposing innocent citizens to danger. Remember that harming ordinary citizens who may not share our vision is not acceptable. Instead, we must work towards winning their endorsement. We cannot destroy what we have to demand for what we do not have. This government is addressing the issues, and we want to be part of finding solutions. We want rice, not cries, food, not boots. We want dialogue, not protest. We must protect Nigeria.
About your whereabouts? My mom.
My pastor. My girlfriend.
Is your girlfriend here?
My girlfriend is my job.
But I shouldn't do. You are a criminal, brother. She's a barrister and solicitor of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Come on! Again, lawyer. I look what?
You're looking yummy.
Don't let me blush. I'm at work. Name something people do in the bathroom. They sing.
Wash their clothes.
Do. Sharon!
Nigeria means a lot to me. And Nigeria means peaceful cohesion. My country. We continue to pray and then hopefully we will come to understand that unity of purpose, unity of living together. Our ethnic beliefs and background and culture is our strength.
Ever since the amalgamation period of 1914 to date, about 109 years ago, the people of Nigeria live very peacefully with one another.
I think diversity helps a lot to enhance robust development in Nigeria.
All over the country, have so many ethnic groups, over 250. That is enough to tell you that this is a blessed country, and that God has kept together as one indivisible entity.
GoTV for correct goals and action. Sharply reconnect on top GoTV Max with 7,200 naira to touchlight La Liga, Serie A, Europa, and select Premier League games live on top Super Sport. GoTV, love it.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. And to start our conversation with brothers on ending oil theft in the Niger Delta, here's a background report put together by our correspondent, Oyeyemi Ajayi.
Oil theft in the Niger Delta is a major unpleasant phenomenon, which the quest of its end is not in sight yet. Millions of barrels of oil have been siphoned from the shores of the country unaccounted for. Reasons for these nefarious acts are not far-fetched.
The Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa some time ago said the communities in the region protect those carrying out the oil bunkering and also help to rebuild illegal oil refineries whenever the military personnel destroy them. This confirms the fact that the country is losing huge amounts of money to illegal activities in the region as crude oil theft intensifies. Just some days ago, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu gave directive to the service chiefs to ensure that they secured the entire South to enable NNPC and others to carry out their task to improve oil production. It was revealed that the joint task force with the land components of all the other agencies are going to work together to bring results. Operations will as well focus on tracking the point of loading to the destination point of the crude oil. Furthermore, operations will concentrate on the surveillance of pipelines, jackets, and wellheads to prevent breaches. This explains why the Nigerian military announced the revamping of ongoing operations to combat crude oil theft in the region. And it is to be conducted under a unified command structure for all security agencies operating in the Niger Delta. Will this bring forth the expected permanent solution of oil theft in the Niger Delta region? What more can be done to end the Hydra-headed monster? Questions begging for answers from guests already seated in the studio.
All right, many thanks, Oyeyemi Ajayi. And now joining us to discuss ending oil theft in the Niger Delta. Let me first introduce here in the studio Dr. Abubakar Akali, petroleum engineer and public policy analyst. It's a pleasure to welcome you once again to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you.
Now, we have also been joined here in the studio by Majid Dahiru, newspaper columnist, national policy analyst, and executive director, Makira Global Security Services Limited. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Also welcoming our guest who is joining us via Zoom from Lagos, Captain Weredi Eneso. He's the Executive Director, Operations and Technical, Tantita Security Services Nigeria Limited. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning.
All right, let me stay with the captain in Lagos. And I do this because we are talking Niger Delta, and it's an area for your own operations and perhaps where you come from. So what would you place as root causes of oil theft in the Niger Delta?
Okay, thank you very much. The major root cause of the problem is one, easy access by the international thieves, let me put it this way, because those are actually the most major areas that we have theft. The waters are not properly policed. It's quite vast. Nigeria's coast is quite long, and it is easy for ships to have access to come in. Now, the second most contributing factor, if you ask me, is the fact that there is a high level of poverty in the region. So it is very easy to convince people to work against the interests of the nation and also unknowingly their own interests, because most of the damage, they are the ones that are going to suffer it. Then on the other side also, there is the high demand for energy. And this is obtained in a very, very cheap manner when it comes to the region of the Niger Delta. They have, to some extent, been able to crack the code on how to bring up products out of all of these things. So it is much easier and cheaper to get refined products within the region. I think I'll just hold it here for now. These are just my major thinking in terms of those that are fueling the oil cost.
To sort of explain further, the extent of the oil theft in the Niger Delta and how solutions can be provided. We'll now bring in Dr. Abubakar Alkali, petroleum engineer and public policy analyst. We've talked about oil theft on Good Morning Nigeria, on and on and on, you know, each government giving, you know, orders with strong words that if you don't stop oil theft, this is the action we'll take. But why is it we've not found that point where issues like this can be brought to the fore, discussed, and solutions found to the oil theft? Because it affects our economy. It's our mainstay of the mainstay of the economy in Nigeria, and with the oil theft going on, we're losing trillions of naira all the time.
Yeah. Thank you so much again. I think, as you rightly mentioned, we have been over this issue several times, and apart from, you know, the analysis, the government has also issued several orders over and over again, and the problem actually even keeps getting worse. So there must be something missing there. Well, there is no need actually to go to the figures. Everybody knows, you know, a lot of revenue is lost through oil theft. By my own estimation, actually Nigeria loses about 3 trillion naira annually, you know, due to oil theft, and that's huge. Over 4,000 cases of oil theft recorded on average monthly. That is the recorded ones, okay? And 5,568 illegal refineries, you know, all this have been said, you know, all these are there. But I think what is important now is, you know, looking at the solutions. I think, you know, to answer your question directly, what is missing is that, you know, that will, okay, that political will, okay, that will to apply the, you know, sanctions, okay, the penalties, the deterrent that is required, particularly from the aspect of the law. You know, I have said this several times over. What is the definition of terrorism? You know, it's simply intimidation and coercion of the government, of the people, okay, for political gains, okay, through the use of arms, illegal arms. So, for me, the government has to move further by just orders. These orders have been there for a long time, as I said. The government has to move further. If you look at the context of terrorism, oil theft is terrorism. I've said this many times over.
Terrorism.
It is terrorism. It's not even qualified. It needs no qualification, excuse me. It needs no qualification. Oil theft is terrorism from the context of terrorism. And if you can level IPOB, you can level Boko Haram, you can level bandits as terrorists, there is no reason why all thieves should not be labeled terrorists. And anybody found in the act of oil theft should be tried, okay, under the Terrorism Prevention Act. You see, this is where to go. Designate all oil thieves as terrorists, okay? And anybody, as I said, caught in that act should be tried under the Terrorism Prevention Act. Now, you have a general state of insecurity in the Niger Delta. This is another aspect of the problem. And obviously, you need security, okay, of the oil infrastructure. And you have another thing that was applied, which is very difficult to comprehend. When you have people who are alleged, ex-militants, who are alleged to be the precursors of this violence in the Niger Delta, now handling security of oil infrastructure. And I think the government needs to have a rethink. That's conflict of interest, okay, where you have people who are alleged to be the precursors, the backbone of militancy. The whole thing started as militancy, isn't it? Yeah. Then it graduated to oil theft. Apart from the fact that these militants were offered amnesty, there was the Niger Delta Development Commission, there was the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, okay, there was the amnesty program, and there was also the 13% derivation fund, all to the Niger Delta region. But this sense of entitlement still continues to persist. Okay, if everybody claims entitlement in this country, I don't think we will have Nigeria as it is today. If everybody claims sense of entitlement, agreed. Okay, what the law says is there should be a corporate social responsibility for the region. Okay, which is actually an obligation on the oil companies operating, the IOCs operating in that region. Okay, but to now resort to oil things as we speak, despite the fact that Nigeria loses about 45% of the oil to oil theft. Nobody, not a single person, has been prosecuted for oil theft. What does this tell you? That the government is literally saying oil theft is legal. If nobody has been convicted for several decades that this has been going on, that is why in our first discussion on this issue, I actually advocated for special laws on oil theft. Designate all oil thieves as terrorists and, okay, promulgate special laws, because this is the live wire, this is the backbone of Nigeria's economy. I don't think Nigeria can survive another 10 years of oil theft. I don't think the Nigerian economy can survive another. The rate at which it is going, okay, we will end up, waking up to hear that the nation has produced maybe 250,000 barrels. Okay, I advocated for special laws. I advocated for special courts to try oil thieves. I advocated for special judges. If we can have this kind of structure for elections, okay, why can't we have it for the mainstay of our economy? Okay, so as we speak, as I said, nobody. This is not, a good sign of seriousness. This is not a good sign of political will. Giving out order, somebody who has made this business, okay, illegal business of oil theft, as his, his main source of living. You can't just issue order to that person. You have to deal with one person for others to fall in line. Okay. You have to show deterrent. So oil thieves should be designated as terrorists, and there should be special courts and prosecuted.
Special judges,
special courts, special judges, special laws, okay, should be promulgated to curb this menace.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Akali. Let me bring in Majid Ahiru here. What's your reading of the situation in the Niger Delta with regards to oil theft? Would you think that government is helpless, as Dr. Akali tried to put it, even though in different words? Or do you think there's something that can be done to curb the theft?
Government cannot be helpless. Any day government becomes helpless, it means the sovereignty of Nigeria is in jeopardy. So I don't think government can be helpless or should be helpless. What is required is the political will and determination to solve this existential problem that has been with us for as long as I can remember. Just to put some perspectives to the issue of oil theft. As we speak, the 2024 budget is already in jeopardy because the benchmark of oil production, the target, is supposed to be 1.78 barrels per day oil production. And Nigeria is barely doing a little over 1.3 million barrels per day. So it tells you that for a difficult time such as we are in Nigeria, the government might not be able to meet up its spending obligations for the fiscal year 2024. And so that should give you an idea of what we are contending with. And a report by NEWS24 also indicated that between 2009 and 2020, a period of about 11 or 12 years, Nigeria lost over 600 million barrels of crude oil to oil thieves, with a value of about $45 billion. I mean, this should give you, should make us understand the enormity of the crisis at hand and why the government should do all it can to stamp out these menace of oil thieves, particularly in oil-producing communities. And there are many ways to doing this, this very important national assignment. Thankfully, the president has finally given the marching order to the Chief of Defense Staff to mobilize conventional forces to move into the region with a set date. It's like giving them a target to say, go in and make sure this national embarrassment is put an end once and for all. And from the statements already coming out of the defense headquarters on their strategies and the tactics of operation they intend to adopt, I think it will be far-reaching if they are given the enablement to do the needful that is most required now. Talking about deterrence, for example, it is important because I think militancy over many years of economic injustice, environmental injustice, and even political marginalization of the Niger Delta, which happens to be the largest producer of this very important national resource, somehow dovetailed into what you call economic sabotage as a means of protestation. Yes, the Nigerian state will have to do more to address the grievances of the peoples of the Niger Delta. As far as I'm concerned, nothing is too much to be given to a region that actually serves as the goose now that lays the golden egg. And a lot more should be done. And that's why some of us argued, for example, when the PIA was being put together, that we needed at least 5% of the profits from operating companies in the region to be set aside to be part of the development fund, National 13% derivation fund that Dr. talked about, intervention agencies like the Ministry of Niger Delta and the NDDC. However, while this is simply within the framework of good governance that will help in the non-kinetic approach to pacifying the region and giving them ownership, a sense of ownership of oil assets, as long as they are beneficiaries of the wealth coming out of their own land. But as a government, we must act as a government. And in this regard, considering the importance of crude oil to the Nigerian economy, is the mainstay of our economy. It accounts for over 80% of foreign exchange earnings for this country. To the extent that our national budget is benchmarked by not just the price of crude oil, but by the output, the production output. Our entire budget is based on crude oil. And so any attempt to sabotage oil production should, by this time, be designated as a treasonable offense, which is in line with what Dr. talked about terrorism. But I think treason should be like, the legal cover or designation for this very nefarious activity. And I would think that the Ministry of Justice, ably led by the Minister and Attorney General of the Federation, should by now begin to put pen to paper on how to probably send an executive bill to the National Assembly to now designate under our statutes oil theft and activities surrounding oil theft, associated with oil theft, as a treasonable offense. And again, I think I also agree with the fact that the urgency of the time requires the Attorney General, the Minister of Justice, to also liaise with the judicial arm of government, the head of the judiciary, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, and heads of court, to see if there will be a possibility of setting up special courts that will serve as tribunals that will try cases of oil theft. I say this because if there is no law, there's no offense. And if you do not dispense justice adequately, if you do not do the needful to bring those that are perpetrating these acts of economic sabotage to justice, you will not be able to, give that indication of deterrence to intending offenders. So I think all of this should be done as immediately as yesterday because of the urgency of the situation. But beyond this, again, I must also reiterate that the federal government must also liaise with the state governments of Niger Delta, especially the oil-producing states, to begin to dedicate the 13% derivation to the development of their state, and specifically oil-producing communities. You know, in oil-producing states, there are oil-producing communities. We want to see the dividends of this 30% derivation in terms of improved healthcare, improved educational facilities, improved road infrastructure, improved socio-economic life generally for members of the host community. That will go a very long way in giving them a sense of ownership of this wealth, enough to vest their emotions, their sentiments, and their legitimacy on the authority of the state to secure oil and gas infrastructure for the collective benefit of the country. Now, without this, and if you decide to just go it on the kinetic dimension, it might become intractable of some sort. So the two must go hand in hand, and that would be being responsible as a state. So we need to carry all of the process along. And most importantly, too, the Ministry of Niger Delta is within the purview of the federal government. The NDDC is within the purview of the federal government. We want to see the depoliticization of the Ministry of Niger Delta and the NDDC. We do not want to see these agencies being tools for political settlement going forward. And let the president appoint the best of hands, the best Nigerians available as developmental experts to man these agencies, so that whatever resources is committed to the people of Niger Delta, we will be rest assured that they have people of integrity, enough integrity to make sure that these resources go down to the people it was meant for. I think a combination of these measures will go a long way to pacify the region, develop the region, and secure our oil and gas infrastructure enough for us to have a boost in oil production and see us out of this economic crisis we are currently embroiled in.
Yes, you've outlined some strategies that can be used to sort of quell the rising oil theft in the Niger Delta. And when the president gave the order to the CDS to march into the Niger Delta and ensure, the CDS said, and I quote, "The truth about it is that whatever is happening in the South-South has been going on for a very long time, and we feel it is high time that it is stopped. What we are promising Nigerians is that henceforth the entire South-South will be cleared of any acts of vandalism and criminality within the general area." Let's now bring in Mr. Captain Waride into the conversation. How did you react to the call by the federal government to ensure that the Niger Delta is completely wiped of oil theft? And we always talk about the cabals and the political will of the federal government to ensure that whatever order they give will be followed to the latter. But along the way, orders have not been hearkened to. But the question I want to ask you is, most of the demands from the Niger Delta agitators have been, looked into and have been given to them. Niger Delta, the NDDC, 13% of what. Why don't they ask questions within themselves? Ask their own governors questions that all this money you're getting from the federal government, why is it not reaching us? Why are the people still agitating?
Thank you. If you had read what the CDS meeting in its entity, you would have seen a lot. This is not about a Niger Delta agitation or anything like that. I think a lot of the people who get into this oil theft discussion have not stayed in the Niger Delta. They don't even know how it works. And I'll give you a classic case. Has anybody asked why the price of diesel suddenly went up after NNPC made a very bold decision? The last administration, a very bold decision to fight this oil theft. Before then, the price of the diesel was low. Now the price of diesel is high. Did it occur to you that a lot of the fuel stations selling diesel to you across the nation do patronize these illegal refineries? Is it an agitation problem? It is not an agitation problem. It is a demand problem for energy. That is number one. Number two, I want you to go and audit the given to people, even by the IOCs, to supply them diesel. You will be shocked what you will see. We have arrested ships that are even supplying the IOCs with illegally refined AGO. How dare you give me a contract, come and supply you AGO at 850 naira when actually the street value is now 1,500 naira? Has anybody asked that question? Bigger than a state. Who could ever be bigger than a government? I don't think there is anybody bigger than a government. If you had listened carefully and read the entire statement that the CDS, and I'll continue to respect the CDS, is the first person of such high-ranking standing to come out and tell you, and tell his military also, that this must stop. The video is there on YouTube. Go and check it. So who are the people aiding the communities that are always being accused of oil theft? Will the communities sell oil to you if you don't want to buy? I don't think so. This is a demand and supply problem. So if you're going to fight this oil theft, you must also fight the demand and also fight the supply. So let us not skate around blaming militants or blaming this person or blaming that person. It is not the militants that come to platforms in the ocean. There's no community there. They tie to platform and steal oil and go. So how come? Is anybody thinking? Is anybody wide at all of how things work? Now the community whereby in some places I can tell you grass is not going to grow for 100 years. Grass is not going to grow for 100 years, and you expect them to plant food. They live in situations where they go barely up. They are dead. They are dead. There's nowhere for them to go. And you have people like myself who live in good civilization looking for cheap diesel to buy so that I can have 24 hours electricity. So how can we go and blame people for agitating or not agitating? Agitation is not the problem. You have a lot of people supporting this oil theft, whom a lot of people are scared to mention. Let us say so. Everybody is participating in this game, from the IOCs to name it. Anybody. And everybody is in it. So, and the government has made a very, very bold step to say that, look, we are not going to take rubbish from anybody again. Anyone caught in this act is definitely going to go for it. And that is a very, very bold one. So it is not got to do with agitation. Let the agitation thing be out of people's minds. Let us go to the nitty of this whole thing. We are in the forefront of this. I am in the creeks all the time. I see a lot of things that are happening. You have ships being escorted, people that have the keys to protect this nation's wealth. So is that a communal problem? It is not a community problem. So please let us disabuse the minds that this is a community problem. It is not a community problem. It is a demand and supply problem. There is hardly a fuel station, as I said, nationwide that has not got refined diesel being sold. So these are my words, and let me give floor to others to contribute. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Captain NEWS24. Thank you very much for the comments you have made. I think we need to make the point that nobody has accused the host communities of oil theft. But by the way, Tantita is very much involved in the security of oil infrastructure in the Niger Delta. You seem to know a lot. And so why does this persist under your watch? What do you think is the solution? You are involved, and you say you see platforms. So what is the solution? Why does this continue?
Very much again. Now, there is an extent the private security firms can go. We are not empowered to carry arms. Now, what do you do with a state actor participating in theft? And we don't carry arms. And I said, you may need to go back, don't shy away, go back and listen to what the CDS said. You have your solution there. Very happy that Mr. President has handed down this big stick. CDS himself also handed down this big stick. We also, as non-actors giving support, also have our own responsibility. We also have to look inwards within ourselves and cleanse ourselves to the extent we will fall in line with the president's desire to make sure that we fix the problem. Niger Delta is literally become a place whereby people go and say, look, let me let you know something. I'm going there and have my own take. All those who are coming to have their own take, they are not all from the region. Everybody knows why they want to go. So we must, as I said, remember, cut off both the supply and also the demand. Now, the biggest solution to this problem is everybody working together, not working at cross purposes with each other.
Okay, thank you so much. But actually, nobody's accusing the oil thieves of stealing oil with the locals. But the CDS also said that he knows the problem is about trust issues, and if they can get the communities to trust them, more information will flow. Let me bring in Dr. Abubakar Alkali into this conversation. There's a saying we say in Hausa. You can't go to the village market without somebody showing you the way. You understand? So both the communities and the oil thieves, they know each other. I hope you understand. They know each other. And for some time now, for a very long time, we've heard of some little arrests, but after some time they are released by the security forces themselves, and with no explanation actually. So when will heads begin to roll on this issue so that we can stabilize the nation and secure the mainstay of our economy itself?
Yeah. Thanks again. It's true. Okay. If you see a problem, within a community, if you see a break-in a house, if you check deep, you find out that there are insiders in it. Now,
when you say insiders, insiders where now? Insiders, government insiders, where?
Well, all of them. It is a whole. Now, the first one, which I, actually mentioned in my initial remark, is actually the militancy, the ex-militants. I tell you, the ex-militants, the militancy, because this oil theft started as militancy in the Niger Delta region. Later, it was upgraded to oil theft. And that was why, well, by the way, apart from the militants, you also have, the civil population, you have security agents as well, collusion, and you have also the IOC staffs themselves. It's a whole network. But the backbone, is the militancy, which has created a general state of violence, and insecurity within the region. So now that was why a lot of us, were actually opposed to the idea of amnesty. Amnesty on the face value looks good, but you see, you have to define amnesty within the context of your situation. Amnesty is normally applied to, maybe government critics, trade unionists, people who criticize government, and there at some point they are, you see, unarmed, agitators. That's where amnesty goes, not to people who carry arms, people who kill the innocents, people who kidnap the innocent, people who deprive the nation of its means of livelihood. Amnesty is not given. When this amnesty was introduced in 2008, 2009, we voiced our concern and said, look, government should be very careful with granting amnesty to people who are alleged to be criminals. Okay, that's not what the Constitution says. You see, before amnesty is not given to, it's not offered to, alleged criminals. It's not offered to. How it works is the government must prove to that criminal that there is government in place, that there is a price to pay. Okay, at some point, when the criminal gets tired of, his criminality, he comes to the government begging. Unsolicited amnesty is not given in these situations. And you see, the problem with that is when you give that amnesty, it emboldens the criminal, the terrorists. It emboldens them, okay? And that's what we are seeing in the Northwest now, okay? Some of the fallouts of the criminality there, the kidnappings there and all that is from the amnesty. That's the backbone. It's from the amnesty granted to bandits in 2019. Okay, so that is why we say it should be handled. Now, on top of all these errors, I know the government then, okay, did it in good faith. Okay, we are trying to improve production. So please stop your breakage of the pipelines, stop your vandalization of the pipelines, so that the crude oil will flow. Okay. Now, they were giving the money, they were even sent, that's the ex-militants, sent abroad to study everything. Some were trained as pilots abroad. They were giving money, they were giving a monthly salary. Now, what are we seeing today? The production then is better than what we have today, despite about more than 10 years of amnesty. We are juggling between 1 million. Actually, in 2022, there was a production of 900,000 barrels. Okay, so that amnesty in context has not worked, despite the fact that the government actually did it in good faith to improve production. But then the problem there is, you see, when you misapply this amnesty, it involves the criminal, and that is where we have this problem. Now, on top of that, as I was saying, you have now these ex-militants or agitators, as they call them, handling security. Okay, if you are not carrying arms, then what is your business there? If you are not carrying arms, because the person who is into that activity has arms, sophisticated arms. So you are not carrying arms. The best. How do you intend to protect? How do you intend to protect? So what are you doing there? What are you collecting the billions of naira for? Okay, and that is where we said government should review that contract to any ex-agitator, to any ex-militant who has conflict of interest, okay, who is given this contract. And then what we are seeing is continue decline in production. So where is the security? Okay, so to that extent, there is actually, okay, the need to look at all this. This is like a government, I tell you. The oil theft in the Niger Delta region operates like the MDAs that we have here, ministries, departments, and agencies. Yes, there are agencies. There are actually people who are, who source for customers, who source for clients, foreign clients. There are people who have speed boats for hire. It's a whole network. There are informants who will tell you which parts of the trunk, okay, which areas are lucrative, where you can fix your own pipe and steal oil. There are local groups. When oil thieves are caught, they know how to get them out. It's a whole government itself. Okay, so it's not going to be a cup of tea for government to give orders and then expect the problem to go. There has to be a very drastic action. There has to be a whole review a whole review, a whole new direction on this approach. And it has to be treated, as I said, as a special case, because I repeat, to be honest, I don't think Nigeria can survive another 10 years.
Okay.
Of oil theft.
Thank you, Dr. Akali. Let me bring back Majid into this conversation. A lot of people seem to be excited by the tough talking of the CDS, but this is not the first time we've had military chiefs talk tough against oil theft. We've had CEOs of NNPC talk tough, but this persists and even gets into an alarming rate. And we begin to wonder, do you think, like Dr. Akali, that there's more that needs to be done beyond giving the marching orders and beyond talking tough?
They need to walk the talk. The government itself is facing challenges in its own finances. And so I do not think they need another incentive to walk the talk this time around. And this is about sovereignty. I think in the first instance, the outsourcing of security contracts to private entities for the protection and the safeguard of oil and gas infrastructure
without arms,
it was an aberration that shouldn't have happened in the first place. The responsibility to secure every inch of the Nigerian territory, including its mineral resources, infrastructure, and assets, is a responsibility of security and law enforcement agencies. And that is why some of us are excited that the Commander-in-Chief has decided to repossess this already outsourced responsibility by giving a marching order to the CDS, who is supposed to coordinate all sister agencies, including the police, including the civil defense, and of course the defense services, to make sure that they secure this most important area that houses the assets that sustains the economy of this country. And so I would think that by this time, the government should begin to review its engagement of private security companies and move these resources down into boosting the requirements of the armed forces and law enforcement agencies, including, of course, the setting up of special courts in anticipation of trial and prosecution of offenders for treasonable offenses while securing the environment. But to do this, again, I must add this, the government itself must also do more for the host communities so that they can vest their legitimacy on the authority of the state. The state needs to emerge forcefully this time around, but that emergence must have the legitimacy of the host communities. If they continue to live in poverty and in penury, you do not expect them to vest their legitimacy on the authority of the state, and that might undermine the authority of the state. And this is where the importance of host community comes in. The people of Nigeria Delta deserves much more than they are getting. And I'm saying we already have institutions, we already have enablers to develop the Nigeria Delta. First, the governors must be compelled. The president has the powers to do so. Through the National Economic Council, to say, look, go and dedicate this 13% to the development of not just the state, but oil-producing communities. No Nigerian child should stay without access to quality education, quality health care, and quality life in general. This must be done pari passu the hard the hardline security approach that we need to see now in the Niger Delta, because it's an emergency situation. For the NNPC, they've done their own part. I understand that we have about 5,000 bridges on pipelines that some of these people make illegal connections to siphon crude. But they've been able to recover more than 4,000 of these points. But that needs to be secured. And that is why the armed forces must be given the enablers, most importantly, to move in and secure. I understand the need to involve the community, even in the hard, the hardcore of security management of the environment. But for me, a better way to do this will not be by giving contracts to private individuals. I think a volunteer corps should be created in the civil defense that will employ able-bodied youths, young men and women of the Niger Delta communities, those communities, into this conventional force. They will pay their salaries and their remunerations and give them the requisite training and enablers to be part of the conventional approach to securing this territory. So I think some of the resources that is being given out now by way of contracts should be redirected into expanding the troop strength of the Civil Defense Corps by incorporating elements from the host community to part of their own security under a conventional arrangement with prospects in career progression, even in security services. So the bottom line is...
Would that not boil down to the same thing we are doing now? If you go against, if you criticize the handing down of contract to secure the environment to host communities, players in host communities, and accuse them of complicity, you are going to do so by bringing them into government formally.
It's like state or local government policing. You need the locals to part of conventional forces to secure the environment. They need to have a sense of ownership, that this is not an occupying force that has come to conquer and plunder their resources. So what I'm saying is, you need to create a special purpose vehicle that can accommodate. If you yank off the security contractors now without creating an intermediary or an intermediate phase for a successful transition to full security operations, they're going to create a bigger problem that will go back to militancy. So I'm saying, in absence of giving somebody a contract without even the enablers to do this work, the civil defense should be as a special proposal, and it's a policy solution. This is a policy.
As protector of government property.
Regular employment, they are trained. The only thing is there will be more quota for the communities. This is even applied, you can even apply this to the crisis of banditry in the Northwest, where you can say, okay, since you have a peculiar problem in this environment, there should be a program that seeks to recruit people from this community into conventional. They're not contractors, they're answering to the state, but they are from the community, so they can give useful information and they can participate. And when the community see their own sons and daughters participating in the war against this treasonable action, they will know that it is for their own good and that they are participants. This is like an intermediary or an intermediate phase that transits from the current arrangement of foreign security to conventional forces. People in the community must be accommodated. If you do not do that, you are likely to get a backlash.
Yes, and let's get Captain Werede to build on what you've said, and I'm going to read from the statement of the CDS. He called on the host communities to trust. That's the $1 million word there, and give the security agencies the needed support. And he also went further to say, yes, we know trust has been a problem, but they can trust us, they can trust the government that we want to do things differently now. Everyone must be carried along on this project. So what is your take on that?
It's very, very, very key. There is the issue of trust, no doubt about it. Now, you may want to ask yourself, it came from the fact that, and as I said, from what he is much, much earlier.
We seem to have lost him there, but I believe you, before we round up this particular topic now, you'll be able to return to answer some questions. Let me throw the question at you.
Okay, please. I just would like to react to, the point. My honorable guest made the last point regarding conventional security, and I think...
And the trust issue too.
Yeah, and the trust issue as well. I think, all over the world, how it works is, you see, when you have a problem within the community, such as this economic problem, okay, within the Niger Delta, you don't actually involve locals, okay, as part of the force. You don't involve them as part of the force. Otherwise, you might be running back to the problem that we are talking about. However, you can engage them, okay? You can extract information from them, okay? You can, network with them on how they can help you, okay, achieve carry out these tasks. You are the one, at the end of the day, this is how the FBI, CIA, this is how they work. What they do is, they don't actually involve these terrorists as part of the force, but they extract information from them, they get information from them, which helps the CIA and the FBI and other security agencies, okay, to carry out their task. So, to be honest, employing these locals, okay, into the force, such as the civil defense, the army, might get us back to the problem we're talking about. However, as I said, engage with them as groups, okay, as associations, okay, as traditional institutions, okay, and as much as possible, get as much information as you can, okay, get as much knowledge from them, because they know the talent, obviously.
But has that not been done already?
Well, that has been done. That is being done, actually. But as I said, this is just an offside kind of solution. I've already stated the kinetic approach here and the legal aspect, but I'm talking about the engagement with the communities, okay? Engagement with the communities, and I'm saying that community members, okay, the youths who it's a bit different from the banditry we are having in the Northwest, because in the Northwest you actually don't have this resource, okay? The people there are not actually seeing oil. Okay, they are not seeing the
affects the agriculture. That's why there's no food.
It affects the agriculture as well. Okay, but then it's quite different. It's quite different, I believe, from a well-established network. Okay, a well-established cartel of oil that operates internationally. Okay, so for me, to be honest, there should be. I think also the trust issue. If there isn't that synergy, okay, between the communities, and this is what I'm talking about when I said, okay, there should be engagement and networking, but it should, there should be a line.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Akani. Let's see if we have Captain Emiso back, if we can take the last 2 minutes or thereabouts to get your concluding remarks on this subject.
Okay, thank you very much. A couple of things I want to also educate the general public about is that while this whole thing may be looking like a Niger Delta problem, we have this problem even in Imo State, far more sophisticated. Imo is not a Niger Delta state. In fact, if you go to Imo, you even have CCT cameras in the bush, command and control centers established in the bush to even warn people that you are coming to catch them. So it's not a Niger Delta issue. And if we are talking about production, it's a separate matter entirely. Some of the pipelines in Nigeria are over 50 years old, and you cannot even pressurize them to the maximum pressure. So not everything you see that is low in terms of what Nigeria produces is due to theft. It is not correct. So some of the pipelines can't even handle the pressure anymore again. So we need to replace those pipelines so that we can go into maximum whatever. But on the other hand, we need to also come together, both the communities, the military, and everybody need to come together, work together, so that there can be more investment in the sector, because at peak investment in the sector also is low. So let us look at this whole thing in a holistic manner so that everybody will be, on board to solve this, because I feel very, very sorry for the leadership of the country, especially Mr. President, because a lot of us are like sitting on a tree.
All right, Captain Waredi Emiso, we thank you very much. It's unfortunate we can't go further because we have some other issues to discuss. But we thank you very much for your contributions on today's program. That's Captain Waredi Emiso, Executive Director, Operations and Technical, Tantita Security Services, Nigeria Limited. Thank you very much for your time. Let's also thank Dr. Abubakar Akani, petroleum engineer and public policy analyst. It's been a pleasure having you on Good Morning Nigeria yet again.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
And to Majid Dahiru, who is a newspaper columnist and national policy analyst, of course, Executive Director, Makira Global Security Services. We thank you for your time and thoughts.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll go on a break now. When we return, we'll go into another conversation. Please stay with us.
Federal government of Nigeria warns vandals of national assets, electricity transmission towers, cables, and other facilities to desist from this act of sabotage. Vandalism is a serious crime, punishable under the law. Vandalizing electrical equipments will affect millions of Nigerians, including your loved ones. Remember that national assets belong to all of us, hence the need to protect them. Report all cases of suspicious movement around electrical facilities to security agencies. When you see something, say something. This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation in collaboration with the National Counter-Terrorism Center, NCTC, Office of the National Security Advisor.
Meet lovebirds Jayola and Adama Davies. Their dream of living together as man and wife has finally been fulfilled.
The latest couple in town. Mr. and Mrs. Jaye Davis!
But an invasion by their troublesome families was not a scenario they bargained for. Her mother moves in. His mother shows up with his little niece. Then her younger sister joins the scramble.
You want to stay?
Married life suddenly becomes very complicated even before it started. Follow their story on this channel as they confront every challenge as it comes. Family forever, the story of our lives.
You have to move from the point where you protect and defend your religion to a point where you also recognize the rights of the other person, of the other religion, and protect it. So if I am protecting my own territory and my own people and trying to emphasize their rights and protect their rights, I should also be thinking about how to protect the rights of the others.
Both Islam and Christianity recognize and defer to God, and both recognize the temporariness of the life of this world, and that ultimately we all go back to God for the day of reckoning, when everybody will render an account of his life on this temporary abode.
NEWS24, live on Sporty TV.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, and we're now ready for our second topic, because in Nigeria millions of individuals are said to live with disabilities, facing unique challenges in accessing education, employment, healthcare and social services. However, the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to President Tinubu on Special Needs and Equal Opportunities is working tirelessly to change this narrative.
Well, with a focus on empowerment and inclusivity, the Office of the is implementing groundbreaking initiatives to bridge the gap between ability and disability, from accessibility infrastructure to inclusive education, employment opportunities, and social support systems. We'll explore, the progress being made and the challenges still to be overcome. We're now being joined in the studio by two gentlemen. And first, let me introduce Honorable Mohammed Abba Isa, who is Senior Special Assistant to the President on Special Needs and Equal Opportunities. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you so much for having me.
And also joining us is Steve Rostick. I hope I got that right.
Yeah, you did.
He's the EZE National Coordinator of Beyond Disability Projects.
Yes,
We're glad to have you join us too.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, let's bite into this. What's the vision of your office, the Office of the SSA to the President on Special Needs and Equal Opportunities, and how does this fit into the agenda of the President?
Thank you so much for having me. Once again, good morning, Nigerian persons with disability. Achieving equal opportunity for persons with disability require a kind of multi-faceted approach. And if you look at statistically, persons with disability, they are most vulnerable people in the society in terms of anything, even in terms of catastrophe, in terms of disaster. Persons with disability, they are at 10L. That's the reason why President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, under his wisdom, under his passionate, he created the office of persons with of senior special assistant on special need and equal opportunity. And he mandated me and gave me a marching order to make sure that I liaise with the ministry, department, agencies of government, civil society organization, traditional institution, development partners, organization of persons with disability, to make sure their policy plan is in calculation with the requirement and perspective of persons with disability. That is the essence why Mr. President created office. He wants to see that persons with disability are carried them in all ramifications of the government. And apart from that, he supports the office with the legal backing by the signing an instrument of law, that is African Charter of Demand, in order to align Nigeria with the other global country. So you can see the reason why my office came on board, to make sure there is fully representative, equal opportunity to every citizen, regardless of our disability. That is the essence why he created this office. And apart from that, Mr. President also give a marching order. We are expecting very soon that he will going to sign the executive order of that bill. The office is almost 6 months so far. We have gone far in creating awareness to make sure that all the requirements or all the quota, and to make sure that all the building is accessible. We have what is called Discrimination Against Persons with Disability Prohibition Act that former President Muhammadu Buhari assented into law. And the grace period given to all the MDS to modify their building to become accessible and to create any environment to persons with disability has been fast. We are now in the implementation stage. And how are we going to realize this implementation stage? By imposing compliance. Why? Because ignorance of law is not an excuse. The grace period, it has fast now 5 years. We are moving. So my office, we are collaborating with all the MDS, together with the National Commission for Persons with Disability, to make sure that all this policy has been implemented. Why? Because very soon our people, they will start going to court, and we don't like that thing. Apart from the Office of Senior Special Assistant to Mr. President, apart from the National Commission for Persons with Disability, apart from the Sustainable Development Goals, with all these indices, still persons with disability are facing challenges. Yes. Why? That is the reason why we came out with this summit. And if you look at the theme of the summit, is addressing discrimination against persons with disability towards multifaceted approach. So we need an effective collaboration for us to achieve the Renew Hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The Renew Hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is giving hope to the masses. And if you look at the 8-point agenda, it's all inclusive. Yes. Eradicating poverty and hunger, creating job employment. Yes. If you align all these key indices, is in line with the discrimination against persons with disability, and we have gone far. Yes, you have gone far. We've been watching you on TV, meeting with other disability organizations, advocacy groups, so that you can bring a lot of awareness to, the plight of people living with disability. Let me bring in Mr. Rustic into the conversation now. How
how is the engagement like with government, with disability organizations and advocacy groups to ensure that the needs and concerns of persons with disability are being addressed? Because when we talk about equal opportunities for people with disability, it requires a multifaceted approach, just like the essay said. So how is your collaboration like with them?
Well, so far so good. The collaboration is going on well. As you can see, Mr. President have appointed a senior special assistant on special need and equal opportunity, and have given him the mandate to liaise with every sector that matters to change, that will better the life of persons with disability. And that's why him, in his own wisdom, he initiated this project, Beyond Disability Project. The project simply means, without speaking much grammar, end of the time for sympathy, expressing sympathy towards persons with disability, but now is the time of empathy and support towards persons with disability. It equally means teaching them how to fish and not giving them fish. Yeah, so if you watch, we have number of beggars on the street, but I can tell you that all these beggars you're seeing on the street, if you bring them together, enhance the talents they have in them, you find out they'll become self-reliant. You will not see the person on the street anymore. But if you keep going to give them money, they will continue coming to look for money. But once person have a handwork, skills, the person becomes self-reliant. So in this regard, the Office of the Senior Special Assistant through the Beyond Disability Project is about to unleash a whole initiative of talent development that's empowering persons with disability through talent and skills. Since we've started this project, I've been able to witness number of talented persons with disability. Sometimes I used to wonder, does it mean that God, even these people deposited stuff like this in them? I've seen musicians who are very great, that when you harness this talent, you manage them very well, they are going to become, you're going to be proud of them, they will make the country proud. And you know that developing talent is just like mineral resources. It's only when you discover it, then you develop it, that it becomes useful. So such is talent that is deposited in a man, and there is no man that doesn't have a talent. We have over 2,000 that we've already, during our research program, gathered 2,000 persons with disability that are well talented. I just left them this night. They finished their rehearsal for what they are going to do at the banquet. No, this morning.
It's this morning?
Yes, they rehearse till very late at night and they are sleeping now. I will tell you that if you watch these people, you'll be wowed at the kind of talent they have in them. Right. And if government and the society give attention towards this, we're going to make a very positive nation.
All right. Thank you very much, Steve Eze. Let me get back to the SSA, to Mr. President Abaisa. It's a good thing, you know, that your conference is trying to address discrimination against people with disabilities. But what support systems are in place for caregivers and families of persons with disabilities, and how can they access these resources?
Thank you so much. You know, there is need for vertical and horizontal governance alliance. We have some challenges in that, in terms of policy implementation. The reason why I'm saying that, we are proud to be Nigerians. In the West Africa, we have a regional meeting with the ECOWAS ministers in charge of disability inclusion in their country. And analysis showed that there is almost 65 million persons living with different form of disability in West Africa. But in that 65 million, Nigeria, we are 35.1 million. Look at this number, 35. The number of persons with disability in Nigeria is even enough to be 2 to 3 countries. And you can see how we cannot afford to lose that people. It's a huge number. And if you can, like Nigeria also, among these ECOWAS countries, Nigeria were number 1 in terms of policy implementation. We have National Commission for Persons with Disability in Nigeria, in which some of the countries they don't have. If you come to the institutional framework, the political party, we have our members from the national to state to the zonal up to the grassroots, incorporating the both the major party. And Nigeria are one of the signatories that signed the United Nations Convention of Rights of Persons with Disability. And Convention of Rights of Persons with Disability is an article that is talking about the issue affecting persons with disability. And any country that signed this bill is obligated to implement what is in that framework. We are proud Nigeria, they are part of the country that signed that. And if you come to the state level, we have almost getting to 20 or 21, if I'm not mistaken. The states that they have law, they have established a structure, a commission that will be safeguarding the life of persons with disability. And we have a UN committee member that was elected. He's from Nigeria also. The linkage of the convention and the sustainable development goal is in line with the renewal agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and is also in line with the 8-point agenda of Beyond Disability project.
Okay, so what do you intend to achieve by this summit? Because there's a call for legal framework, a legal protection for people living with disabilities. We've seen what happened recently at the airports, both in Maiduguri and in Lagos, with people living with disabilities. What are you going to advocate for a legal framework for the protection of people living with disabilities?
Thank you so much for this great question. We already have a legal framework as a center, but the issue is that implementation issue. And how are we going to achieve this is what we are even organizing this interministerial and subnational summit, whereby we engage the engageable, the duty bearers, the policy makers, so that to tell them that there is existing law. If you discriminate persons with disability, you will go to court and there is sanction on it.
Is there a penalty?
There is a penalty, it's a law. And this law goes, but with this, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is going to sign an executive order in order to trigger the bill. That's the extent why I'm telling you that there is a need for vertical and horizontal governance in alliance of the policy. Some of the people, they are ignorant about the policy. Most of the challenges that we are facing, if you confront them through advocacy, they will say they are not aware. But we cannot continue facing challenges day in, day out, stopping our people to board a plane from various airports. So what we are trying to do is, my office in collaboration with the National Commission for Persons with Disability, we are going to come out with the Presidential Accessibility Task Force Committee, which Mr. President will going to inaugurate this committee. And this committee is a full structure, whereby it compasses all the MDS representatives, and even architecture, development designer, all of them will be in that committee. And we're going to do a kind of accessibility audit. We're going to start with UMT. If you see your building is not even accessible, see the way our even managed to even come to.
It is actually.
It is.
It could have been brought to.
There is one thing we call cosmetic accessibility. What this means is that you'll provide a ramp outside, but if you come to the entrance or a restroom, you can see it is not even accessible. So that's the extent that conducting accessibility audit to see the area where you have gap in fulfilling the obligation and the mandate and the requirement and consensus of persons with disability. So we're going to have a task force, and that's what we're going to impose compliance to make sure that all these MDS and other relevant body implement that law. And that's the essence of coming out with this summit, to sensitize them, so that by the time when they go back, they can step down the deliberation.
Indeed, government is making quite a number of efforts. But again, I'm trying to see here where the private sector comes in. So I'll be asking Rustic Eze, what role the private sector and civil society can play in supporting the government's efforts to promote inclusivity and equal opportunities for persons with disabilities.
Well, the awareness for inclusivity for persons with disability is everyone's business, including all of us here. It is time we look into that law. That law also will be officially launched today. It's called the Golden Law. That's the 2018 Discrimination Act. The 5 years of grace has elapsed. So it is a clarion call for every Nigerian, including the private sector, the civil society organization, the media, all hands on deck to promote this this law, the awareness, create awareness for this law, so that persons with disability will feel belong in the society where they belong. The law also have an aspect of employment, 5% for persons with disability, and anybody who disobeys this law will face some legal punishment, either by going to jail or you pay a certain amount of money. So it is the work, the responsibility of every Nigerian to create awareness and to abide by this law.
Okay, indeed, to abide by the law. Essay, is your program going to be live?
Yes, we're expecting.
And who is a part of the program itself?
Where's the program holding?
Where's the holding and where?
The program is today, less than 1 hour to go.
Okay.
And we are engaging with the ministers, we are engaging with the executive directors, we are engaging with traditional institutions. Why? Because if you look at, you can't do anything without traditional leaders. The traditional leaders, they are the custodian of the people. We are partnering with them. Why? Because they are the one that they will give you first-hand information in regard to the issue of person with disability. And Mr. President mandated me also to collaborate with them. They are also part of the program. The development partners, civil society organization, all of these critical stakeholders, let me put it in that way, all of them, they are going to attend this summit, and that is the essence of creating awareness. Why? Because achieving equal opportunity cannot be a one-man job. We need an effective collaboration so that everybody can play his role, can play his task in order to achieve. You cannot achieve anything, your goal or vision, in operating in isolation. So that is the essence why I'm calling every individual development partner that our office is open for collaboration, and our office is connected to 774 local government. We have structure for persons with disability in various categories. We have what we call Joint National Association of Persons with Disability in Nigeria. 36 states, they have their chairmanship, and almost we have different 6 to 7 categories of persons with disability, visually impaired, deaf, albinism, and all that. And all of these people, they have their structure, they have their leadership. So we are collaborating with them in order to change the narrative, to make sure that we achieve the Renew Hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which is all inclusive.
Okay. Honorable Muhammad Abba Isa, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Special Needs and Equal Opportunities. It's been a pleasure hosting you on Good Morning Nigeria today. I wish you well.
Thank you so much, my sister.
Mr. Steve Rustic Eze, National Coordinator of Beyond Disability Project. Thank you so much for coming, and we hope to watch your singers later on in the day to see how it goes. Thank you so much for coming on Good Morning Nigeria. And that has been how it's been on Good Morning Nigeria today, the first for the week. Thanks for joining. I am Jumwe Yusuf.
And I'm Victor Azu. Enjoy the rest of your day.